Hey, good morning, crypto traders. If you're watching this video, I'm assuming that you are new to the Crypto Wave service and perhaps you've never traded a crypto or used a crypto exchange. If that is the case, or maybe you're trying to brush up on some very beginning topics, this is the video for you. And so this hopefully will get you started and get you comfortable just to the basics of trading cryptos on a crypto exchange, and then you can get going with the service. And we've got lots of course, lots of other videos to help with learning what to do with the service and whatnot. This is the very basics. All right, so what I'm going to do here is we're looking at Coinbase Pro, and I'm going to share with you a few topics. I'm going to give you the basics of operating on an exchange. I'm using Coinbase Pro as an example, and then I'm going to give you kind of the range, what I see in after we get into the operations of the exchange. I'm going to go through the exchanges that I think you could consider, and I'll emphasize the ones that I use if that helps you. I would not confuse any of it with a recommendation at all. And then we'll talk quickly about security, and just some and I'm going to give you 101 on security. Definitely, that's a topic that you can go dive deep in and explore yourself, to really get hyper secure, if you will. So, all right, so let's get going. This is Coinbase Pro, like I said. And I'll scan across the tabs up here. I got portfolios. You can see holdings. One reason I'm using Coinbase Pro for this example is because I don't have anything in it. I don't trade much in Coinbase Pro, so I didn't want to expose my holdings. That's not secure behavior. And then there's a trade tab, which you just saw, which is the trade screen when you want to make trades. And then lastly, orders. You'll want to check your orders sometimes if you can't get an order filled, and you want to see some details and maybe cancel an order that's in the way of funds being utilized. All right, so just a few features of the screen. One is, of course, the chart, and then we've got the order depth, or the order book depth, and this is basically saying where a bunch of orders and what levels they are, and sort of you get a picture of volume. And then you've got buy orders on one side. I mean, right now you can see there's a lot more buy orders. It's typically, though, the case in a bull market. I wouldn't make any conclusions that when you see this more green that the price is going to go up. It doesn't really necessarily work that way, because a lot of these orders are just sitting so far away from active price. It really is the people at the top of the book that are doing the trading and the price discovery. That would be here, 2.33 Bitcoin at 59464. Well, of course, it just moved on me. And then another group of folks here at green. I mean, sometimes you can watch the order book and see which way it tends to move, but you can also get that from a candlestick chart. I mean, there are people that trade order books. That's not necessarily my expertise. I definitely use wave structure, but you may want to explore that as a topic. But this helps you see also how liquid it is. So if you see a lot of gaps in the book, right now we got pretty tight spread. You can see that spread here. It's hitting a penny often, but sometimes when things start moving, it jumps a bit. But you can see this. But Bitcoin is always a tight market generally, and you can see that spread is pretty tight. So that's actually very helpful, is checking that liquidity with the spread. You don't want to necessarily, if something is not trading very liquidly, you don't want to cross the spread in a big way. You want to put in a limit order. Hopefully you're familiar with order styles from normal brokerage accounts. I would say these are simplified, but we got a market, a limit order. Limit, of course, is when you want to set the price and not just take a price. And then a stop when you want to get out. So stop price that gets triggered, and then a limit if you don't want to get triggered and then take a really low price on a sell, for example. You can set the lowest price you'll take on a sell and the highest price you'll take on lowest price you'll take on a sell and the highest price you'll take on a buy. You can also use that stop for buying into the market if it pushes through a certain level. It works that way as well. Of course, you've got funds that you've got. I've got 0 and 0. You can deposit, which I'll go through in a bit. And I mean, basics of placing order. One thing I should say also is that in crypto, we've got Bitcoin at like 59,469 right now trading, but you don't have to buy one Bitcoin. You can see a lot of orders here. They're a lot less. So one thing you can do here with every exchange is a little different, but you can say, okay, I'm going to put $5.01, and it's gonna take a 3-cent fee, and then it's going to give me this much Bitcoin, 4 decimal places, 8382. So that you can do, and I like to tell people, joke around, skip a coffee, buy some Bitcoin. That's a good way to save some money over time and build up some holding in Bitcoin. It actually works. That's one of the nice things about cryptos. You don't have to, when you're buying an Amazon share over $1,000, you've got to have one share, right? I know there's some partial share corporations out there, but in crypto, it doesn't matter. It's all like that. Every exchange is like that I know of, except for a couple. So that's that. Well, I'm going to explain pairs. So when you're picking pairs, this is one way of doing it. You can pick US dollar pairs, Bitcoin pairs, Ether pairs. So for most people, you're probably going to be most comfortable trading in the USD pairs, which means you're buying Bitcoin with dollars in the situation. So the way it works is if you get a buy of this pair, so let's just choose it, you are buying Bitcoin with US dollars. Okay. Now, if I was to switch, say let's go Ether, and then we'll pick Link with Ether. You are buying Link with Ether. So if you didn't have any Ether in your account, you couldn't make this trade on Coinbase. Okay. So you can see that let's say I had this is asking me how much I want to buy with how much Ether, right? And so if I only had US dollars, if you wanted to make this trade, you have to buy Ether first. Of course, you can just buy Link with US dollars as well. The only thing I'll add about this pair is on some exchanges, some futures exchange, derivative exchanges, and in the US only Kraken, you can trade crypto pairs on margin, and that would mean effectively if you buy this pair, you are long Link and you're short Ether. And so it would actually give you the profit or loss in Ether and not in Bitcoin. So you can actually make that trade if you have US dollars, and you have to choose specifically a margin trade on Kraken. On some exchanges, it's a futures contract. There's different ways of doing that, but that's something to understand about these pairs. But if you are going to be just trading this on something basic like Coinbase with no margin, if you want to buy this pair, you are buying Link with Ether. If you want to sell this pair, you are selling your Link for Ether. Okay, so it's sort of sell to the right and buy to the left, if you will, in terms of what currency you're moving from. And again, the margin topic is an entirely different animal, and you can certainly dive into that on YouTube, and maybe at some point I'll do a margin video, but not it's an advanced topic for right now. There are definitely good videos on Kraken margin and how to use it, as well as documentation. So that's that. Let's talk about depositing. So we've covered small increments, order book, depositing. So if you don't have any funds here, there's a couple things you can do. So you hit deposit. And you choose your currency. Now, if you have your bank account set, you can pick USD, and you can put in a bank account, wire transfer. And then this third option is from Coinbase.com. So we're in Coinbase Pro right now, and I like Coinbase Pro better than Coinbase. I hardly ever use Coinbase. Coinbase is a highly simplified sort of human interface. It's not a trading interface, but their fees are higher, or at least they have been. I haven't checked in a long time, but they used to be the case. So I don't send money to Coinbase. I send my money only to Coinbase Pro. But if you happen to have any money in Coinbase Pro, you can just do an instant transfer from here and use your Coinbase account. You can say I have no money in there, and you can send that dollars over or coins over if you've got it. So that's depositing. You can pick depositing of, say, okay, Bitcoin, and then you get a crypto address, and then you understand that they're anyway. You can either QR code it if you've got an app on your phone, or you can copy the address here, and then actually use this key here, because you can see they've got a few digits out. Just use the key there, copy or copy hotkey right there. Copy that, and then copy that into another app. One thing I would say about this is whenever I copy address, I check the first 4 digits and the last 4, simply because there are viruses around that will re-engineer your wallet address as you paste it, and you'll end up sending the coin to somebody else. Double check your addresses. I 2 weeks ago, for the first time in my whole crypto life, I sent about $500 of Bitcoin to something else, an exchange that I don't own anymore. It was an exchange that went foreign and kicked Americans off, and I had it in my address book on one of the exchanges, and I clicked the wrong address. That is the first time it's ever happened to me. I lost $500 out of that. Not fun. So you just want to check your addresses, double check them before you send it, and make sure you're sending the right address. And it's funny because I thought I double checked it, but I guess I was just moving fast that morning. you have to really be careful when using it. But that's the basics of sending. I mean, you would, if you were to, I'll go into that again, just make sure we understand. If you were to, let's say withdrawal, you would say, okay, withdraw Bitcoin. You would add the address here. Okay. Often there's a max key, so you can hit max key and it'll tell you how much Bitcoin you have. I don't have any, but you would take that address from your other exchange. So again, let's say if you want to send Bitcoin from Coinbase to Kraken, for example, you would get your wallet address from Kraken and paste it in here. Okay, so that's one approach. And then second, if you want to deposit, you could say deposit Bitcoin, and then this would give you the address. Okay, and then you could copy that address, QR code it, or copy it with that click, and paste it into the field on the other end, on the exchange that you're transferring from. So that's the basics of exchange operation here. The other thing we should talk about is, okay, I talked about orders. That's pretty good. We have your portfolios. You could check on deposits and withdrawals. Again, blockchain deposits and withdrawals they take amount of time for the exchanges to clear, particularly Bitcoin and Ether. Some of the coins like Ripple, Litecoin are very fast and really hardly take any time at all to confirm. But some of the heavier mined coins like Ether and Bitcoin take a long time. They're probably the two culprits in terms of deposit time. But you can watch those by clicking these deposit withdrawal just to see status and whatnot. So that is that. Let's see, I'm trying to think. Oh, one thing I should say about portfolio is that there is really, I don't think any crypto exchange has a really great way of tracking your performance. And unfortunately, it's really terrible. The only, I have been looking at getting some journal software that you can hook up with an API. What does that mean? Well, you can watch some videos on that. That's a very advanced topic, but API allows you to hook up, for example, I hook up a software to API for taxes, and basically it reads all of your trades and all of your deposits and whatnot to get to a taxable situation. I'm going to look into getting journaling software personally to track my performance, and if I find a really great piece of software that I really like, that I will share it. It's really handy to know, always track your performance. You can definitely do it by hand journaling, and I do that with some of my trades and that are on a very specific strategy to track a strategy, but I don't do it on everything. I just watch my balances go up or down if I'm trading badly, which does happen. So that's just some basics, and unfortunately one of the aspects of crypto exchanges. The other thing is, taxes are kind of a bear, and I would suggest learning how to hook up an API. It really isn't very hard, and when we get to the end of the year, some of you guys can talk about, I've used a lot of different tax software, and I kind of use a different one every year, unfortunately, because of my margin trades. Some of them tend to do better at margin trades, and each year it's sort of a different character. So, but there's some good mainstay ones out there we can talk about on the board, and it's a bit of an advanced topic. But you definitely want to learn how to use the API on your exchanges, and we can get to that topic at some point in time. There's plenty of videos on YouTube. So portfolio, we talked about, order book, small increment trade. So let's talk about which exchange. Hopefully this makes sense. This basic trading screen, it really isn't difficult, but if you guys have any questions, do follow up in the room, and we can get you going. Let's look at exchanges real quick. And I'll talk about which ones I use. So one of the difficulties with this, again, this is not a recommendation. The other thing is because I'm American, I can't get on certain exchanges because of CFTC requirements. So I'm going to give you my lay of the land, and some of these are useful in other countries, but there may be some other really great exchanges in other countries that you want to consider. So Kraken is one I use. Again, ins and outs of Kraken's. It used to be the lowest fee structure in the market. I mean, unfortunately, fees in cryptos are in some regards high because they're percentile based. But what is nice about that, you don't have to get you can get any amount of crypto you want, and it's still percentile based. So buy very little crypto, you pay little in fees. Buy a lot, Of course, if you want to lower your fees, you either do a lower exchange profile, fee profile. exchange with a cheaper fee profile, or also just trade less. Obviously, I mean, I'm an active trader, and I only active trade so long as I'm doing well at it, and because definitely the fees can eat you up if you're not trading well. Again, Kraken, low fee profile. User interface is a little hard to get used to. The other big problem I have with Kraken is that it has some bad wicks, meaning some of the candles are outside the global average. They come back in, but they can be scary, especially when you trade on margin like me. So I just keep my margin really, really small. So that's I also don't use stops on the exchange unless it's a very quick position and like a scalp or something like that, very quick trade, simply because those wicks will punish you if you get your stop run. So it's a lot of people still use the stops. I'm very good about stopping out of a trade not working, so I don't feel like the need to just leave a stop on an exchange. But there are times when that does bad, when you're just in a strong downtrend overnight and you're not able to get out of the trade. I solve that by trading small. That's just my natural approach to trading, is trade smaller than you think you do. Than you need to. Coinbase, again, I don't use it much because the fees are heavy. They have come down a little bit. They do have volume discount, so it may have improved, and so I may reconsider it in the future. I don't think it's a bad exchange. It's been around a long time. They're certainly, in terms of being a secure exchange, a good example of any, no big hacks and whatnot. They're of course going IPO now, and so they're very well funded. That's a plus. You never know how some of these exchanges are doing financially. Although I think a lot of them are doing pretty well in this bull market right now this year. FTX is a new one to the U.S. market. It's been international for a while. Lower fees than Kraken. Well, you can get lower fees than Kraken if you do a lot of volume. I think my Kraken fee profile is lower than FTX on some months when I have high volume, but FTX is in a very low profile fee-wise as a base level. Missing quite a bit. There's a lot of you can use a lot of other foreign currencies on there, like Brazilian real and I think they have British pounds, but they don't have a lot of coins, and I think they're adding them one by one as they go. But I use it for a few of our trades. We've had trades in GRT and Sushi, and I've been doing those on FTX. I think it's a great exchange, actually. One thing I really like about it too is it has you can trade right on the chart, like right-click orders and stuff right on the chart, which is a really great interface. So I really like the exchange, but hope they develop into having more coins. Binance, we have an international version and a US version. The US version has a lot less coins, but it's pretty good. A lot of let's see, Elron, EGLD, of course BNB, which is the Binance coin. I trade those trades on Binance, so it's a good exchange, kind of medium tier in terms of fee structure, yeah, I mean it's a good one. I appreciate the exchange, and they've been around a long time, and they're based in Malta now, but originally started in China, and they've been around a long time, and I think is the largest exchange in the universe. Bittrex, kind of a dusty old exchange to me, but their interface has improved a lot. I think they have better selection for American customers than Binance, but they do have an international version with even more. I've been using it again after a long period of time not using it. I think it's pretty good. I can't remember what their fees are, and I'm sorry about that. eToro, I have never used it. It has recently been to the US. I think it's much bigger in Europe. I don't have any issues with it. You might see their commercials on YouTube, but I've never used it, so I can't really make a hardcore recommendation. KuCoin, non-US for sure. However, they don't KYC, know your own customer, so they don't know that I'm on there as not an American. But anyway, it's a pretty good exchange for what I've seen, and I've used it for some of our trades that I can't get on US Binance and US Bittrex. The one thing I would say about it, if you're American, is if you have more than 10,000 on a foreign exchange, you need to claim the FBAR with Treasury, which is kind of a pain. It's not a big deal. I don't like doing it, so I just keep my accounts under $10,000 that are foreign. Two apps that I use, Voyager and Abra, both of these are actually what I use for. I actually use these apps for my fiat gateway, and these are Just really easy to use, really easy to get. Voyager, I haven't used Aber in a while, but Voyager now is instant buy. So if you do a deposit, even if the deposit's not clear, you can buy crypto with it. You just can't send it anywhere until that deposit clears. So Voyager's been growing immensely and having a hard time with withdrawals. It doesn't scare me because I've seen so many exchanges go through growing spurts where they have a hard time. I've seen that with Kraken. I've been with these guys a while. I'm patient with that, but just be aware that they're a little bit having some growing pains of late. Derivatives exchange. So non-US, BitMEX and Deribit are two futures exchanges. BitMEX has been under investigation from FBI from allowing Americans on their exchange. Deribit has clamped down and KYC'd everybody to know where you're from, and they've kicked all Americans off. I have used both exchanges when it was not that way. I like Deribit a lot better. It has options as well. If you are European or actually anywhere but US, or not in any of their countries they ban, which there are a few, Deribit's a really nice exchange. BitMEX scares me because honestly, their ownership is kind of shady. Some of their ownership is American, and I won't get into it too much. You can read about it, but I would be careful on that exchange. There's derivatives in the U.S., LedgerX and ErisX. Both of these are futures exchanges, but unfortunately, fully collateralized. There's no margin. I mean, you have to have fully collateralized futures contract. ErisX, it has no options, but LedgerX does. They're just not very liquid. I do trade on LedgerX fairly regularly. Lending and borrowing, these are all interesting. It deserves a whole nother video on lending and borrowing, but I would look at these platforms in the meantime, and I may do a video on lending and borrowing in the space in the future. But BlockFi, Nexo are two that I use, and I've been intending to get on the Celsius network to get familiar with that. It's pretty cool. I mean, get interest on your Bitcoin, and you can also use your Bitcoin as collateral for loans, low interest loans, which is kind of cool. But yeah, that'll be another topic another time. So that's kind of the lay of the land. Again, there's a lot missing here because there's a lot going on in the world. But this is my sort of immediate environment and what I'm aware of. And I didn't want to go stretch past something I just was not familiar with and perhaps give misinformation. We'll go into security do's and don'ts. I mean, there's a lot to this, and so I would jump on this. So first thing is use second factor authenticator or authentication. And there are a few examples of this. You could, for example, log into Exchange and they send you an SMS text and you've got to click it. That is actually bad security because someone can swap your SIM card and then have access to your account if they also have your user credentials. So use an example of exchange that does that as Voyager, which I think is bad, but I limit my exposure to Voyager in terms of monetary exposure. If I was to get hacked, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world with my Voyager account. Most exchanges are going to use Authenticator. You can get Authy with some of them. Authy is a very good 2FA if you have that option because they actually have a setting where you can only allow it on one device. So if someone was to SIM swap you, which is to say get a hold of your SIM card or a copy of your SIM card and use your phone, then they can't access your Authy, which is really cool. Authenticator is Google's product, and it's available on most exchanges. And lastly, YubiKey, if you have access to that, and Kraken has this as an option, it is the most secure because it's a physical key that you have to put into a USB or use NFC to connect while you're using your crypto accounts. So if you have that option, I would use it. Getting a couple YubiKeys is like $90, so really worth it in the long run. So secondly, I say use a non-public email for crypto accounts. Even use a unique one for each address. Is super handy. It's very simple. You just don't want, if someone gets a hold of your email, that they can use it to re-engineer access to accounts by phishing you and whatnot, or actually communicating with the exchange to see if they can trick them. You just want to guard your email accounts that are used for cryptos, and you can use Gmail. That's so popular. Proton Mail is another as a mail client. It's considered a bit secure, though I've heard criticism that it's owned by an Eastern European country. So I would look into that. But the main thing is be non-public. If you're using your standard email address, first name, last name, whatever, at Gmail, something like that, you're just much more vulnerable. Be careful how much of your assets are exposed on exchanges. You might consider hardware wallets. Like, if you have an exchange packed with, money on, funds, you might want to just stop and say, okay, what happens if I was hacked? How would I feel? You may want to pull some of your main holdings off or distribute them across different exchanges. The only thing I would say about distributing across certain kind of hacks where they really they really compromise you, they might be able to get access to a lot of your exchanges. So you might also consider hardware wallets, which I'll let you look up, but Ledger and Trezor are two. And basically, if you've got a hardware wallet, you're basically sending coins back and forth from Ledger wallet to trade. So that does get more expensive, but hyper secure. I mean, you basically have a device with the keys, the private keys, locked into that hardware wallet, and so no one can hack them unless they've got them physically in their hand, and so you put it in a safe or something like that. Always use unique passwords for crypto exchanges. I use a password program. I mean, OnePass is one, another is Dashlane. There's a few out there. Always use a unique password for every crypto exchange. It's simple. If a hacker was able to get into one of the, say, banks that you use or something and get passwords, they were going to start trying those passwords and selling them on the dark web and whatnot. Use unique passwords. I should also add here, change them every once in a while. 30 days is always recommended. I mean, it's a lot of work, but at least for those precious, exchanges with a lot of assets, you might want to consider being very diligent here. And I use a random generator actually for my passwords, which is powerful, and then I have it saved into a password program. Use KYC to exchanges for most of your assets. You'll find people that say, that's privacy, that's a problem. KYC, what is that? Know your customer. It's requirements in U.S. law for exchanges, brokerages, accounts to know their customers, have their government ID, a copy of it, so that basically they're fighting money laundering laws. But the benefit here to you is if you have a problem with the exchange, you can't get into it, your password and whatnot. They know who you are, so you can talk to them, prove who you are, and then perhaps get access to your assets if provided it's only a lockout of exchange. If someone hacked in your exchange and got them off the exchange, that's very different. But if you got locked out yourself and you can't get on, that's a way to talk to them and help yourself get back on. Keep your machine clean of viruses. Consider using a virtual machine or a unique machine for just trading. Virtual machine is like, for example, I have a Mac and I have Windows running on the Mac as well. So that would be a virtual machine, and I don't use that one for trading, but that's an option for, like for instance, you get a Chromebook because you only really need an internet portal, so you can get a Chromebook cheaply, for a couple $100 and use that to trade crypto, and it's not going to get a lot of viruses if all you're doing is just going to the exchanges. VPN is recommended. That's a private network that there's services that do that. It's just very secure transmission of information. There are possibilities of someone sitting outside your house and intercepting your Wi-Fi signals and reading what you're passing between exchanges. I mean, it's going to be rare for most people. I suppose as a public figure, it's more likely to happen to someone like me. They figure out where my address is and then sit outside my house. And with that, hardwiring also into your modem is better. I am not currently hardwired to my, but I need to fix that because it is definitely recommended. It is also is recommended to keep 2FA off your phone. So you might have 2FA, again, is like Google Authenticator or Authy, these apps. You can put it on an iPad that's not hooked up to the internet. That, again, the point there is someone was able to get your SIM swap. They can't access your they can't access your credentials and your 2FA. Again, never log. These are the don'ts. Don't log into a crypto exchange at a public or hotel Wi-Fi. They are not secure. If you're traveling, use a hotspot like your cell phone. It's far more secure. Don't log into exchange while you're on that hotel Wi-Fi. Don't log into anything while you're on hotel Wi-Fi. Honestly, it's best to carry your cell phone and get access that way. Don't tie your phone number to your Google backup. So every time you use a Google service like Gmail, you have an option to create a backup, right? Or a way to access it. I recommend using some obscure email again that is not public, and not use your phone number. Why do you not use your phone number? Well, if you use your phone number and someone SIM swaps you, then they can technically load up Authenticator, get your credentials, and then which they potentially get through the hack, and then use your phone number as a backup to back up your to get your Google Authenticator back up, and then they have access, because that's basically Google has all that stored. If you have that backup stored, so you just don't want to use your phone number. Again, use some obscure email that will prevent others from accessing your account. That is all I have in this video. Again, if any of these, I mean, these are meant to get you started. I know you're going to just, if you're new to this, it's just going to generate a ton of questions. And again, don't give up. I would simply take this in, start slow, start getting some accounts set up. Oh, one thing I should add is having more accounts is going to make you more successful in our trades, because we trade across many accounts. Some exchanges just don't have some of the trades. So I would get going, start several accounts. You don't have to fund them all. Get comfortable with them and how they work. Again, start very slow, and then, if nothing else, you can take the Bitcoin trades very simply. Maybe add some Ether as you go, and then get into altcoin charts that we post every week as you get more comfortable. And then again, if you have questions, just holler on the board. We've got that special channel for beginners, and we're here to help. All right, thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys on the service. Talk to you soon.